December 13th, 2004, 10 Minnesotan electors gathered to cast their ballots for the next President of the United States. John Kerry. John Kerry. John Kerry, John Kerry, John Ewards. One of these electors, instead of putting John Kerry, as they had all pledged to do, had instead put a misspelling of his running mate's name, John Edwards, thus throwing away not only his own vote, but the vote of approximately 284,000 Americans he was representing. Gone, just like that. Why do we have electors? Why do we have an electoral college? What does our country look like under this system? I'm not here today to answer those questions. This is not an informative speech. Instead, I'm here today to tell you that we should not have electors. We should not have an electoral college, and that our country would be better off without this system. When the average American votes for the president, they are actually voting for an elector who is pledged to vote a certain way. An elector who doesn't vote the way that they've pledged is known as a faithless elector. In the history of the United States, no faithless electors have ever been prosecuted. To better put that in perspective, I'd like to share with you a couple of my favorite reasons that electors have gone faithless. In 1956, W.F. Turner really wanted to vote for a white supremacist instead. In 1972, Roger McBride abandoned Nixon over drama in the Little House on the Prairie fandom. And in 1988, Margaret Leach just wanted to expose some of the flaws in the electoral system. Thank you, Margaret. We've also had a couple of electors who were sort of faithful to a fault. In 1872, 3 electors voted for a candidate who was in fact dead. Regardless of how you feel about the Electoral College as a whole, most people would be hard-pressed to find a defense for the electors. That being said, I'm here today to talk about the flaws in the whole system, so let's just leave our electors where they belong, in the past. I have been interested in the Electoral College since before I could vote. I have studied, and I've argued, and I've come to the conclusion that too many rational, intelligent people believe in it for it to be obviously bad with no saving graces whatsoever. And in the spirit of that, I would like to first show what I have found to be the most compelling argument for the Electoral College, and then explain why that's still just not enough to justify it. So the major argument has to do with states' rights, specifically this idea that higher population states, like California, will sort of take advantage of the lower population states, like Wyoming. And the key problem with this is that states don't vote. But we can still break down the argument into something that makes a little more sense. So high population states tend to have a lot of urban areas, which can fit a lot of people into it, as opposed to something like a farm, which can't fit as many people. And so if you have, for instance, a candidate who part of their platform is that they will cut agricultural subsidies to fund social programs, you can see why the two groups would differ, and you also know who has the votes to win. Now, I care about minority voices, and farmers are no different, but we don't structure the way that we vote around any other group. We encourage them to have their voices heard in other ways. Do you really think that gay marriage would be legal in the United States if absolutely no straight people cared about it? It wouldn't. And farmers can do many of the same things. They can appeal to the majority, they can join in with other smaller groups. It's a system that works. Now back to our system that doesn't work. Our country under the Electoral College. We are currently undergoing an impeachment process. And I did some polling at BYU, and so I know that a lot of you think that it's not really a threat or something to take seriously. But can we agree that it's a bad look for our country in general? And I know that many people don't like Donald Trump, but can we agree that having a president who is openly mocked and hated is a bad look for our country in general? Can we agree that for one reason or another, we should have a president who has the support of the people? What if I told you the Electoral College is standing in the way of that? The system that we have now allows for a president to be selected without getting the most votes. That's how Donald Trump got elected. He didn't even get half of the votes. And if he couldn't give us unity in the election, how can we expect unity now? But of course, why would he strive for unity? With the Electoral College as it is, you can focus on key areas, game the system, and win the candidacy without ever even addressing half of the nation. The Electoral College as it is disincentivizes unity. Now, we've had the Electoral College for a very long time, but we cannot let that stand in the way of something better. What we have now is a bloated system where one person's spelling mistake costs hundreds of thousands of Americans the right to vote. And what's keeping us there is a fear of sentient states and compromise. And where we could be is a country in which the president works for and holds the respect of the entire nation. Now, wouldn't that be wonderful?